should have somebody that's
somebody up trying to get somebody from the board to step up.
Alright, we're gonna go ahead and get started, everybody.
And when they get
Invocation.
started too, yeah.
Phil, can I say something before we
Absolutely.
start? Last week, 10 o'clock at this time, I was sitting at a funeral for a young lady, 43 years old, that left her husband, 9-year-old, and 6-year-old. Which is a reminder that, you know, as festive and as of a celebration of Christmas, it's not that way for everybody. And so today I want to pray for the people in our community that are going through a holiday season where they're suffering that they may have not experienced it before. So if you would join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we, you know, you're sovereign, and we know that you know all. And in this festive Christmas spirit time, we think about the people that are probably not enjoying it as much as some of us are. Pray for the people that are suffering with addiction, whether it be alcohol or drug. I pray that you would find a path for them so that they could free themselves from that. Be with the people that in our community that are experiencing illness today, maybe short-term, or maybe long-term, that they haven't had before, and just give them the strength to bear through it. As we celebrate Christmas, a lot of us, and we enjoy the festivities of it, we pray for the people that don't have the finances to do that. We pray for the people that are suffering just to put food on the table. And we ask that you would find a way for them to overcome that burden and come out on the other side. And finally, Lord, I know that there's people in our community that are going to be suffering the loss of life of someone that they loved and cherished, and they're not going to be with them this Christmas. That's going to be the first time they experience that, and we just ask that you would love them and comfort them. Heavenly Father, finally, I just pray for wisdom and discernment for Heather and Phil and Diane as they make decisions that have a bearing on our community, people that live in it, and that they would do it in your name and honor you in all their work. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. Can I have a roll call, please, Michelle?
Clifton.
Here.
Fitch. Here. Stancil. Here.
All present. On the consent agenda, I was going to make a comment on one thing regarding the annexation of West Des Moines, but since Mr. Leonard's is here and some of that's public, I'll defer to Tom on that, okay? Now that we know it's Microsoft, instead
Yeah,
of speculating it's Microsoft?
Yep.
If you want to include that in your report, that would be outstanding.
It's in the paper all Iowa depends on,
I
Phil.
know, I saw it. Anything else on the items in there? Oh, there's some comments about the minutes.
Yeah.
I wanted to clarify, Iowa Workforce Development, $45,000 wasn't adequate, so in the minutes it said that we don't have to pay it back, yet they're just gonna not allocate 45,000, so you really lost it.
Participants are waiting in the lobby. To admit all
So it's kind
participants
of a
in the lobby,
payback.
press
So-
star 2
I'll
1.
speak to that.
If you could clap again here, minutes.
You have chosen to admit all.
Okay, so what happened was, Diane, is this is a statewide thing, it's not just our region. They've almost all the regions got dinged by the Department of Labor. So in our case, the entity that did all the, basically the managing of our region as well as other regions, the Department of Labor found that their documentation was inadequate. The problem is that no one gave instructions on what was adequate or not. They just found it. So the original amount was $68,755. They agreed to reduce that by $22,918.
So that company just ate that?
No, this is what the Department of Labor said. We're not going to have you. We're not going to have you pay back 22 of that 68. So the rest you have to pay it back. Now the option is to go to the counties for the money, which of course is a non-starter, and then or what you do is you defer payment administrative funds in the future for Iowa workforce money. So, so nothing's coming out of our pocket.
But you got 45,000.
But you're gonna get dinged next
We're
year.
gonna get dinged next year. So, the state does have money in another fund that they can shift over, should we need to handle that. But the board determined that, we feel we can still function fine without that, and if not, they would pull money from this other fund. Now, there was conversations about appealing, but the thought process, and the appeal would not be to necessarily the Board of Labor, because you won't win that. The appeal is who pays it back, the state or the local boards. And the state would be, we have to get a lawyer, we have to pay money for that, and.
So that wouldn't be possible.
Right, so, and to be honest with you, it's still taxpayer money, whether the state pays it back or we pay it back, it's still taxpayer money. So it's gonna be paid back out of our pockets one way or another.
But you spent the money on something you thought was a valid,
Right.
thought was a valid thing, it just wasn't
Exactly.
authorized.
So-
the money did some good,
It
it
did
just
some
didn't
good.
meet their
It
criteria.
didn't meet their criteria, so now, so.
Because they didn't have it in place on what meant and what didn't.
Right, so there's a lot of aggravation on several of the boards because of the lack of instruction we feel from the state. So going forward, there is stuff put in place to prevent that from happening again. So I feel comfortable with how we're working towards it, but I and everyone else is very frustrated. We're like, the work was done. You're saying it's not done the way you want it. No one gave us instruction on how to do it that way, or gave, not us, but the consultant instruction on how to do it. So this company thought they were doing it fine, so here we are.
I just didn't.
So is that kind of
Yeah.
helping make more sense? Okay. And then the other, for me, on that particular minute, was it this minute or it was, my name was spelled wrong?
Your name is spelled wrong, but it's correct.
That's corrected. And then the other one was, let's see. Okay, so where it says 45K was not deemed as, was deemed as not adequately by the federal, should we put another word in there, not adequately accounted for?
Sure.
Documented or?
Documented.
Or as not adequate.
Not adequately documented, how about that? Are you guys okay with that? Thanks. That way it clarifies it a little bit more.
Perfect. Anything else?
Well, you just got my out of the workforce meeting report.
We'll cross that off when we get to that too. So, that said, do I have a motion to approve, first we better approve those minutes as recommended.
So moved.
Motion by Heather, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Diane, all in favor of amending those minutes indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And I'd ask for motion to approve the consent agenda, including the amended minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather, any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Motion carries. We reach the public comment portion of our meeting. Is there any public comment this morning? If so, raise your hand and we'll call you to the podium. Anyone on the phone wish to comment this morning? Okay. If not, our next item is opening the sealed bids for our snow and lawn care removal RFP.
And we got two bids.
We get 2 bids. This is from CD's Lawn Care.
Okay.
It's not nearly as good as the original. We'll open up the other one as well, so we can compare them side by side. This is from Midwest Services. All right.
Multiple copies.
There's two copies, but this copy did come off.
Okay.
So it's not really. And the first column from CD's lawn care, mowing and edging was $206.50. Midwest Services is $160. For public health, CD's is $92. Midwest is $85. Courthouse, $143.75. Midwest is $140. Secondary roads, $92 for CD, $90 for Midwest. Monumental Park, $57.50 for CD and $55 for Midwest. Annex, $40.25, Midwest $40. EMS $60, Midwest $34. Totals $692 for CD versus $604 for Midwest. Parking lots are documented a little bit differently. Midwest has dollar amounts, where CD has $18 per gallon, so I'm not sure how we go about comparing those. Moving on to the shrubbery column. CD's got public health, Midwest.
Is that because there's no shrubbery?
Yeah, there is some shrubbery out there along the front of that building, Jason, so.
Okay, okay, when I talked to, he said, don't worry about it, because there wasn't anything to do.
There's
Okay,
very little.
okay.
Okay.
Courthouse, $316.50 for CD versus $300 for
How
Midwest. $316.50. Secondary roads, $86.25 for CD versus $85 for Midwest. Annex, $258.75 versus for CD versus $125 for Midwest. Total for all sites, $834 versus $590, but with the understanding that there's another site in there that Jason missed.
Okay.
Lawn application, CD 207 for sheriff and elderly service, Midwest at $160. Public health, $115 for CD, $110 for Midwest. Courthouse, $149.50 versus $145. Secondary roads, $375 versus $140. Monumental Park, $109.25 versus $95. Annex, $60 versus $50. EMS, $81 versus $45. Total difference, $865.50 versus $745. Snow removal, CD 172, Midwest 170. Public health, $86.25 for CD and $85 for Midwest Services. Courthouse, $201.25 versus $200 for Midwest. Monumental, $57.50 for CD, $55 for Midwest. Annex, $172 for CD, $170 for Midwest. EMS, $125 for CD, $85 for Midwest. Difference, the total's not, can't be right. This total says $470, but I know that every one of them was more, so.
That's not right.
Matters.
Well, that's for,
Yeah.
there's right
Right
there.
there, right there.
So,
We had those real quick.
whose is it?
Let's see.
Right there.
Participants are waiting in the lobby. To admit all participants in the lobby, press
814.
star.
How much?
814.
All right, so total of snow
You have
removal,
chosen to admit all.
814 versus 765.
Yeah.
And the ice treatment is
Is
$28.75 a
now
bag
joining.
for CD versus $26 a bag for Midwest. So
Okay.
close in most categories, but in all circumstances, Midwest was cheaper on that.
But some pretty big jumps, I wonder, well, that's $100. And then those shrubs, we have to probably,
Well, we can add.
There's not much
we
shrubs
can
out
add it in snow.
All right,
Probably should be 20.
thank you both for your interest in that. That's an agenda item for us to discuss here in a few minutes. Thank you very much. All right, next one, there's presentations. Tom,
Okay.
welcome and thank you for your 10 years of service in your
Oh,
role.
well, yes, and limping off into the sunset here. So let me bring these over and.
Sure.
Sure. This, either the last or the second to last from appearance here for me, depending upon when the yet to be named new person can start. So, before I go on, you've all been good to work with over the years. Got to know you all and appreciate the business-like attitude and everything. So, thank you for supporting the organization and for being good, personally to work with. So, just throw that in. So, we'll run through a few things quickly today. The report periods from October 16th to November 10th. We did talk about a couple of things last time. So the bridge fund, the bridge repair fund, Mike sent some information over. We had our foundation meeting last Friday, so the foundation, the Greater Madison County Community Foundation, has a basic understanding of the project to go, and we'll look forward to our grant period next year, and Mike's got a grant kind of started, so I think we'll hopefully that is well received and everything. That won't be my rodeo anymore, so that'll be I'll be involved in a different way. Yeah. That part has started, so appreciate the lift. That is a big lift, and appreciate the seriousness that everybody took it. Speaking of other projects here, we also did the final paperwork for the cemetery fund last Friday. I've sent that in, and for our township trustees and for our cemetery boards, I guess there's a couple of private cemetery boards out there too, we've set up a fund to have some money available for smaller projects, the $500 or $800 project for repair, maintenance, that kind of thing. There'll be a press release going out in the Madisonian today, and it will have, and I need to send it up to Erlen too, I'm just making a note of that. We've thrown some seed money in, and we've also added some match money, and so there'll be like $8,000, $8,500 that we'll add to the pool once other donations come in. It seems like this would be something where people may want to donate, and by virtue of running it through the foundation, then there is a tax deductibility that comes along with that, and you get a tax receipt at the end of the year then too, and that's all lined out in the press release. And so the board's taken that on.
Tom,
Yes.
a question. The Historic Foundation.
Yeah, there's some tombstones and that kind of thing comes out of there.
Like maybe a Civil War veteran.
Mhm.
Will that work together then?
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Sure, and the people that are involved with this, I know Ryan is on the foundation board, and I know he and Jared ship in the replacement tombstones and
I
everything.
know Colleen Peterson researches, and she looks up for especially the Civil War
Mhm.
ones, And if they're veterans, it just proves to be so difficult. Can they maybe circumvent that and use you?
Well, anything is possible, of course. I know that when we were having a meeting out at the History on the Hill here at the museum, they were just getting a shipment in that day later for 3 or 4 replacement tombstones. Of course, that's a very specific subset of what would be eligible under our fund too. So they'll work together, but it's not, the one is not a replacement for the other or either way. I mean, it's an extender, I would say probably both ways.
So you work together? Which is
Sure,
what I-
absolutely, yeah. And certainly Brian's aware of all the rules and everything that go on with is it War of 1812 or Spanish American, or there are 2 or 3 wars that were eligible under the same one as the Civil War, I think. Not World War I or World War II, whoops, but it'll be all coordinated, let's just leave it like that maybe. Excuse me. Like I say, the press release will be in the Madison on Wednesday. Worked on a few small business startup things. There's a couple of other items to go through. The Chairman Clifton mentioned the Microsoft site. That's been released. It would be directly west of the current facility that's in Warren County, going across the county line there. I believe there were 2 landowners and maybe, is that 440s? I don't think it's quite a section, but that was the annexation.
That's the one we just approved, or just,
Yeah, just talked about there.
Microsoft has speculated, now it's.
yeah, no.
Now it's out, and the register actually reached someone at Microsoft headquarters and talked about the project. West Des Moines not talking too much yet, but they're.
Did West Des Moines purchase Warren Rural Water? Is that a rumor or is that true? Because that concerns me that they need all this water to supply Microsoft to keep everything cool. I don't want to be Osceola and be out of water.
I can't answer that. I had not heard that. I can check it out.
Do we know what's going on from that land?
It'll be another
Is it
server
in-
farm.
Oh.
Which
Yeah.
takes tremendous
Yeah.
takes tremendous amounts of water, which is a huge concern.
And the
I believe it comes
valuation
out-
on that, we have got any indication
I
on that?
think it's gonna, again,
Probably tax abated. one of those.
Probably.
well,
No.
The
no.
other one was.
The other one was
first one
significantly to put the infrastructure in.
Yeah,
the
but
future.
now, this one's gonna have a little bit of a and look, it's their story to tell, but my understanding is there's gonna be a little bit of road, I think maybe it's to the south or around, I'm not sure, perhaps around the edge, but I don't think there's much infrastructure there now. The assessment, the appraised value is probably gonna, I guess, somewhere between 600 million and $1 billion. I mean, it's
Big money.
big money, and,
If we get it.
well, let's be optimistic.
We'll think
Yeah,
positive.
you have-
We're
you
being
give- If you
realistic.
give
Yeah, I
it
know.
up to TIF and curtail that 90%, that's the biggest thing to ever happen in Madison County.
It is, and it's, I don't know what the total assessed valuation in Madison County, if it's $1 billion, this could be
Could double.
close to a double. And I accept and respect your concerns.
Cynicism.
Yeah.
But if you compare that to 52 wind turbines in Maxburg,
Oh, it'd be
Huge
great
deal.
if they don't,
Huge deal.
If they don't
They
tax
don't.
abate.
figure it out.
Well, they,
Let's talk about that again. Why,
Participants are waiting in the lobby. To admit all participants in the lobby, press *2.
when they first built that,
You have chosen to admit all.
they had agreed, kind of with Soil and Water, to do some landscaping, because I think these are ugly
now joining.
buildings. Why can't they do some landscaping? Cover those with,
well, I think
that would
that's a
heat
fair
and cool
comment.
them, that would be so much beneficial, put a 3-row windbreak around those.
You know, and this isn't flippant, but future of agriculture, I'm saying that wrong, but the people that work around confinement buildings, they do a lot of that, the screening and
Yes.
light pointing. And I know that the neighbors commented that they weren't against it, but we're hoping to make some improvements on how the lights shine and that kind of thing, because
It's bright.
it's
It
bright.
is, and it doesn't fit in. I'd like to see some kind of, to help it
Mhm.
fit in with our landscape.
Well, and
New.
I guess the
They can put
landscape presently, I mean,
Right now.
I get what you're saying. The landscape that's there now, across the road, it's twin. So, I mean, but trees, shrubs, absolutely, you know, and I think that's part of what Microsoft and the city of West Des Moines are going to work on. And that would be, you know, I think there would be comments that would be available, but I think it's their rodeo now, I mean, West Des Moines. And the council seemed to be sympathetic to the surrounding landowners, and we're gonna try to work on the plan that way. And look, I'm not their teammate, I'm just
Yeah.
reciting what I've read.
I know
So,
at least one that's not happy.
oh,
I
I
know at
suppose,
least one
yeah.
landowner is not
Well,
happy at all.
It's right on top of him.
Yeah.
Well, can't solve that one.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, folks, that would be my report today. Again, I appreciate the candid way that we're able to talk, and I think the good relationships we've had. One last note, and as I'm abandoning the podium here, I've talked with the folks here for Southwest Madison County, the fiber plow, and that appears to be getting final agreement between them and the state, so that'll be good. And I don't think there's any doubt on the north one, but we'll confirm that here. And I think that that's gonna be about $7-8 million investment in Madison County right there in fiber lines. And then that's from the state, and then the private entity, the telco, you know, their match is gonna be somewhere between 30% and 40% of that too. So, I mean, that should ultimately be about a $10 million investment in Madison.
Is Telco the one on the Mansford Road that,
Oh, no, I mean, the ones we're talking about here is Casey Mutual has got the Southwest tentative agreement, and Panora Fiber has the North Central one. But they're just on the other side of Earlham now, Nora, so they'll be coming through, so. I think those are, the important part is that those are fine, small companies ran by Iowans. The small node north and west of Bevington was acquired by Mediacom, so.
Lucky them. Well, thanks for your update, Tom.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to hear a little more details on that. My quick and dirty math, and I may be all wrong, but I don't think I am. That Microsoft deal could mean an extra $3 million in tax revenue in Madison County. So, like it or not, that's a huge relief for the taxpayers of Madison County.
well, we'll see how they,
Yeah.
it'll be great, but.
Do we know yet if they're gonna abate, if West Des Moines gonna abate?
Well, again, what I've read, I believe that there'll be some, but the major water, major sewer lines, that kind of thing are in now. And the road's been put in, and I believe that was on the first unit there in Warren County.
Okay.
There was an overpass and sewer lines and water lines, a number of things.
And when that went in, that was yes, this one's getting tiffed very hard, but the infrastructure will be there for future things. So
Yeah.
We'll see if that holds true or not, but that's what we were told, well, that's been 9 years ago.
Yeah, it's been, I mean,
My
I
first year
just
in-
started and you had just been
We
elected,
were
so.
both newbies.
Yeah, but I guess,
Did you even attend, or did Doyle attend that press conference?
no, I was down there with you, we got a picture of.
That's right.
So it was, I think it's gonna be hopefully a positive. And if you use the hog house analogy, there's one hog house there now, you just, you're just doubling up, so.
Yep.
And I get all the comments and,
Yeah, but they doubled up hog houses in Osceola and now they don't have any water.
I don't,
It's a concern, I just gotta think, I hope it works out.
We'll just have to watch it very carefully.
pardon that?
We'll have to watch it carefully.
Yes, you will, and I tell you what, the Warren Water thing I had not heard, but I will try and run that
I
down.
just heard it, I don't know if it's true, and I would like to be in the room where all this stuff happens.
Well, Des Moines is the author of the Warren Water anyway, so
I
they're
don't think it's true.
that's just Des Moines Water.
Is now exiting.
So,
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you, folks.
Brady, you're up.
Okay, start off with the runs. We had 113 EMS runs last year. It's kind of on the back couple pages there. Kind of broke down from the city of Winterset to Winterset, Mayling, Earlham. It's about standard that we've been having. Just some other stuff going on out there. The garage doors are complete. Trim's done, everything's working good.
Again?
Again. The body work on 207 from where it did hit the door and stuff is all complete. We took it to Stivers, it was having a shifting issue, which I kind of talked a little bit about. They were saying there was a wire harness and sensor that was bad, not the transmission that we thought it was, that they had left the clamps on when they replaced the transmission. They said, nope, that's fine. They extended the warranty for us on that, but, yeah, so they said it was a wire harness and a sensor that were bad in the motor, okay? They also said that the turbo vanes are a little sticky, just drive it. They said unless you want to replace the turbo, which is about $5,000, that truck is our second oldest truck, but it's got almost 200,000 miles, 180-some thousand miles on it right now. And they think that there's go ahead.
Do ambulances, do they suffer a lot of problems?
They,
It seems like.
some do. I mean, when they start to hit an average, a national average on ambulances is a 5-year service on them. When they run as much as we run ours. That's a 2018, that's got almost pushing 200,000 miles on it. So they do have, and of course they're not run the easiest, like nights out of the garage. And it's always emergent to where they usually need to go. They're saying that also might have a possible scorched cylinder. If that is an actual issue, that means that the motor will go out eventually. There's nothing they can do about that, except replace the motor. And they told us that's not a viable option at this time. So we don't know, that is kind of what it is. On another note, our oldest ambulance, which we had to put a new motor in a while back, we're still working on trying to get a power load system through some grants. I'm working with CCOG. They just sent me a list of grants that are available for us. A couple of them look like they might be pretty good. We're gonna go ahead for the Prairie Meadows grant again. Try that, we're gonna have them help us write that. Talk with Tom's replacement
Yeah.
about a few
Participants
things.
are waiting in the lobby. To admit all participants in the lobby,
So
press.
that's kind of where that one's at right now. I did
You
get a
have
quote
chosen to admit
on
all.
a new ambulance. Our last ambulance was $265,000.
Is now joining.
That was in 2022 that we got. It is now for that same exact ambulance with a few things taken off of it, is $340,000, and it is 18 to 24 month turnaround if we ordered it and paid for it today. We wouldn't get it for 18 to 24 months because
2 years.
Yep. So
And you gotta pay for it?
Yes, you have to pay for the chassis up front, yes.
What percent of that purchase price is that?
Which we did before, didn't we?
We did,
Yeah, we
but it was only like a 6-month turnaround.
Yeah.
They're 18 to 24 months now. The one thing that our dealer did tell us, we might have a little bit of preference getting a chassis, and it's the chassis that's taking the longest to get. We might have a little bit of preference because we've only ever used Fords. So we will move higher up on the list. So we're looking at hopefully more toward the 18 months instead of the 24 months, but I do know people that are still waiting, and they're on a 36-month wait for some of the Dodges and other ambulances.
Wasn't our last one closer to 250,000?
264. Yep, it's
Isn't
got,
there only one company that makes this?
no, there are a lot.
There are lots?
When we get into budget discussion, let's revisit that. And
Yeah,
something
what-
that I've always been an advocate for, and I'm not sure if it's possible or not,
well,
is
I'm-
getting a more compact rig for the,
Sure,
for
and
the stuff.
I
And I know
was-
you need one that's four-wheel drive and whatnot.
Right.
I wondered if we could alternate that with a
Sure.
much cheaper rig.
Yes, and another issue, another possibility, which they're supposed to be coming down and meeting with me, but they haven't yet, is they call it a remount. So we take the box, and as of right now, if we can get a power loaded 205, even though it's older, it's in better shape as far as mechanically wise than 207. If we could take 207 and remount the box, just buy a new chassis, have it fitted, take the module off of that and put on a new one, that would cut down on some of the cost too. They're supposed to be coming down and walking through everything and going over that with me to get me a price on that. So as soon as I get that.
Let's work on that when we meet for budget.
Sure.
When you transport from the nursing home to a hospital, why do you have to use an ambulance? Why can't you use something, like Phil said, much cheaper?
Well, so
I'm not even saying not an ambulance, but I'm saying
in
much
the
smaller,
grand scheme of
two-wheel
things, the
drive.
nursing homes have a van,
Yeah,
but they never have anybody to drive it.
right.
A wheelchair van. So they call us because it's just easier for them. Some patients are bed confined and we do have to take them by ambulance.
Could we look into something like?
Yeah, a smaller one, yeah, and
It could be cheaper.
that's kind of what the remount would be, a cheaper option also, but they're supposed to be getting me, coming down talking about a whole bunch of different options. All of our full-time people right now are CPR certified as far as instructors, so if anybody needs CPR, just let us know. We taught Stop the Bleed to the junior high, was received very well, trying to get them a little head start on stuff. We taught CPR to public health. The GEMT submission, it was turned in on the 30th. Last year, I don't know if you remember, we were shorted by, on the Medicaid side, this is the Medicaid side, we were shorted approximately $1,200 and some a call, which is what we're actually paying for now, that in July we'll get that money back, which is roughly $79,000 from the federal government, on top of what we were paying in to get back. And we made the first 6 months payments on that. Our next year budget, or not budget, I'm sorry, our next year GEMT findings from the state is, now we are shorted almost $1,500 a call, $1,576, I think. So it's increasing, we'll be getting more money back the following year depending on the number of calls we have. Again, Culver, we're still working with them, and
I would press them because they have money.
yeah, so they've sent me like four different grants that we could apply for.
Be
So,
aggressive.
Yep, for sure. And then the collections process or the profit recovery, we have received 2 payments back from that, but so far that's all. And it's still kind of an ongoing thing every month, so. That's about all I got. Any questions on anything?
Thanks, Brady.
Thanks, thank you.
Okay, moving on to resolutions for today. First resolution is the EMS resolution to write off $9,425.15 on deceased accounts. Is there a motion to approve?
So,
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather, any further discussion? Not indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We talked about resolution B, on our board appointments. We're kind of waiting to hear back, we got a couple openings yet. We're gonna work to try to get a full full slate for our organizational meeting on January 2nd.
So I move to table that.
We'll need to make a motion to
Just-
table.
okay.
We'll just table it. Next one, approving observed courthouse and annex closing holidays for 2024. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I don't have my documents. The next one is approving a bid for the RFP that we just opened for lawn care, maintenance, and snow removal services. Having reviewed those, feared that Midwest was the more economical of the two submitted. Does anyone have any other thoughts on that?
I move we approve Midwest Services as our lawn and mowing and snow removal services.
And ask Jason and Chip get together on the shrubbery for the
Yes.
public health building? Okay.
This is a one-year agreement,
I
yes.
believe it's two. I believe it's two. Diane, there's a
I
second?
will second it.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I would just say, Chance, thank you for your years of service to the county. We do certainly appreciate that. And Jason, look forward to working with you. That said, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is the secondary roads work agreement between Cunningham Ranch and Madison County Secondary Roads. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather, any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, the secondary roads resolution approving final plan for markings on our farm to market roads. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather, any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And the next one is a zoning resolution approving the trade of 2 used vehicles to purchase a newer vehicle. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather, any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I would like to say though, we've already decided it, but have secondary roads glance at the one to see it.
Maximize the trade-in value.
Yes,
Yeah.
if they
Get
can,
some of it.
maximize that.
All right, moving on, we have applications. We have an application for renewal of a liquor license for Pepper Hill Farms. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Heather, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Diane, any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to board member reports. Is there anything you want to report on since our last meeting?
Well, I already reported on the Iowa workforce meeting that we discussed. So, you have the details on that. We met with our annual meeting for Matura. So that went well. They had a little dinner going on, that was nice. I met our new Matura gal that runs our Matura location here in Reset. She's apparently, on her report, said that she's okay for volunteers for now, but I guess that's a cyclical thing, so we might want to stay on top of that.
I dropped stuff off there last week and they told me they needed people. And so I said I tried it in the musings, they told me they needed
She
people.
said, that's what I was confused, is because in
She
the
said-
report she gave to the board, she said they're doing okay.
They
So it
told
might
me
be
they need-
cyclical.
We'll probably always take
Yeah.
it.
So.
It wouldn't matter, people
They
would
would
go
turn
out
it
there and
down.
offer.
Yeah, yeah. And then I also attended the two county budgeting trainings offered by ISAC to kind of go over the law changes and how that's gonna affect our budgeting and the new processes and dates and stuff, so yeah, that's all I have.
Diane?
I went to CCOG, and then I met with, the monument company and to cover our electrical box. And Dryholtz will bring them a stone to practice on because it's limestone, so they have to practice. And the Historical Foundation wants it to match the south side of the courthouse. So it will say Madison County 1807. So it'll match, so it looks like it's harder stone. And so he's working on a mock-up for us.
And they're gonna be paying for that, correct?
Well,
It's gonna be the cheaper alternative than lifting
Then
it up.
looking,
yes,
yes,
I think, yes. I think
they understand that,
That they should, well, they probably should.
they will, that's their choice, they can either lift the box to comply with the.
Oh, they'll
contract,
pay for it, so there's gonna be no argument there. And then, oh, there's a plat in our office, we need to decide. It's lovely, it's about the tornado, where do you want it to be? So think about that. That's all I.
Okay, we talked about it during our study session, and I mentioned I talked to Aaron. Sean, are you on the phone yet?
He's been on.
I know he's been on a while. All right, great, I thought you were back on.
Yes.
Did you hear our discussion?
Yes.
Supervisor recommendation would be that, I know there's a Board of Health meeting tomorrow night, so if you could relay this message to them. The thought was that one member of the Board of Supervisors, one member of the Board of Health, yourself and Ryan get together at some point to kind of brainstorm what we should do out there at your office. Having one position is soon to be a second position, I guess Loretta's retiring too. How we should address that, so. Do you have any other thoughts on that?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you wanna relay that message to your meeting tomorrow night and have them reach out to us?
Yes, I will. I will.
Okay. All right, and do either of you have any other thoughts on that?
If they have a committee, since I'm over the public health building anyway, I
To
can
sit on that?
sit on that.
Would they, I don't know if this is, yeah, it is the right time, would they entertain, could you, putting environmental health back under zoning?
Right.
You can't, first of all, and they're, from my understanding, is they're contracting out, they're doing a 2080 with Warren.
I think that's a short-term fix.
Yeah, and then they're doing.
That is very temporary, and it's something that we need to get done ASAP. But then after that is done, is when we need to decide what we're gonna do long-term.
Because, right, you also, did John sign the contract to be a contractor for inspections and stuff already? Is that done? Sean?
I'm not sure that John has signed that yet. We have discussed it. So I've asked him to go over there and talk to Kelly and sign the contract and everything. Last I talked to him, he has not done that yet.
Okay.
Okay, well, bring that up at your meeting tomorrow night, and then I think that meeting between those four individuals needs to take place next week, so we get some direction and some traction on this. So.
What is the state looking at on public health?
Okay, so I reached out to Senator Sinclair, because of all, she said there's actually nothing on the table right now to change anything. There's just been discussions regarding regionalization of public health, but anything they do requires legislative action. The governor can't just do it. And
But they're leaning towards it, aren't they?
They've had 2 committee meetings to discuss it, but it hasn't been even floated to the legislature. She said there's no legislation in the docket yet to see, and usually now everything's ready to go because session starts in 1 month. And then I asked her if there's anything else out there, and she says, well, there's nothing out there to regionalize anything other than public health. She said that anything would require legislative action. She says she knows that some people have talked about the courthouse. She says, but you can't change that. It's a statute requirement that the courtrooms be open in every county.
But they say that Yeah, they have regionalized Iowa workforce, they have
But that's under the
regionalized.
executive office, she can do that. All this other stuff requires legislative action,
I think it-
so.
We're kind of getting in the bushes a little bit, but public health is kind of up in the air.
It is. I think
Well,
so.
she said there's there's only been 2 committee meetings to discuss it, it didn't go anywhere, there was not a lot of interest in it, other than the people that called the meetings. So she said that's where she left it, and she said even if they decide to do something, it would take legislative action, and it'd probably be a lot
I
of
think the other thing that you're working on is with the budget restrictions that you're putting on us, public health seems to be something that's kind of keeps floating up on most counties' radars, and, well, maybe there's some savings to be had there, so.
Right.
Maybe that dovetails together to regionalize public health and
But
hopefully save
on the flip
everybody's
side,
money.
I'm more concerned about regionalization of the public health boards, because they're the ones that control, like during COVID, everything. So I'm like, if you wanna regionalize like the public health services, I'm less concerned about that than the regionalization of boards, and she said, no, there's no talk about that.
And when, speak to that a little bit, it's kind of out in the weeds, but when COVID did hit, there was a county in the state of Iowa that absolutely controlled everything.
Mhm.
The Board of Health closed, you couldn't get in and out of any building without a card or a mask, that you had to have a shot. That scares me.
Right, and that's the thing, is if we do regionalization of the boards, I don't want Polk
Me-
County dictating what
Me
Madison
either.
County does, so. But she, cause I asked her details about that, she says, there's always gonna be people talking about regionalization. She said, it doesn't mean it goes anywhere, it's just people talking. She's, other than things that come under executive control, the governor's office, everything else, courts, everything, public health regionalization, that all requires code change.
But as people say, oh, I want less government, they kind of buy into, I want less, I want less, I want less. So then it goes up there and they cave to it, well, then we've lost local control. And I think
And
there's
that's, she pointed to that,
Yes.
because we have, local control in our state constitution, there's not a lot they can do. So, she didn't seem worried about it, she said, people have been talking about this for years, and
They
nothing
have,
ever comes of
ever
it.
since I've worked for
So,
government, they talk about
there's a few people in government that wanna do that, cause they wanna centralize power in a region or to the state, and it never goes anywhere, so.
it. They never do. Okay,
All right, moving on. The Reno-Dry dehydration units for the courthouse. I haven't known about anybody else, but I've been called to Mark Hanson about every 3 months for the last year on that.
Yeah.
We finally gave a bid on it. I'm not really sure what that's all about. I
I
thought the number would be a lot bigger than that, but it seems too good to be true also.
I did a lot of research on that, and, based on my reading, Reno-Dry used to be called Acropole, and they're based out of Europe, and they've gotten in trouble with Europe for making promises they couldn't deliver on. And the technology is questionable. There's no scientific basis on this, there's nothing.
it's
Sounds
the
like
same
putting-
as the stuff you spray on your roof that makes your roof last for 50 years, they can't find it works
And,
at all.
and there's nothing that can't be solved with better ventilation, so
No, it's, to me, it seemed like,
it seems a little snake oilish to
well,
me,
it's kind of.
and, I'm not interested.
I'm not interested.
All right, I'm sorry, I missed the first item under new business, the Board of Supervisor meeting agenda for December 26th.
Oh,
That's in the questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, just because I know you're going to be absent, and we tend to get a barrage of requests kind of late. So as that comes,
Well, the intention is that it's just claims only.
yes,
I just wanted that on record, so that as folks are inquiring
add
and
things to the agenda.
and forwarding it up to you guys, that's.
Maybe she should just send out something that is claims only.
Well,
And
absolutely,
you'll
okay,
get
that.
flooded with everything.
Because we prefer all of us to be here when there's
Yes.
anything else.
We talked about not meeting, but if
Right.
claims run, we have to meet, so.
And then, so there will be 2 people physically here, or do you?
Heather and
choose
I'll
that?
be here. And you-
I'll be here, we're not going anywhere, because we do have I forgot, we have a policy that requires 2 of us to be physically present.
We'll be here for
So,
I'll
yeah.
come in.
Okay, thank you. Just
All right.
wanted that clarified.
And then the other thing I wanted to talk about at this point was, budget meeting dates, so we can get some of those circled, so we can look at our calendars. Looking at the first week of January, do you want to start knocking some of these out?
I can't, I have
Fourth and
a,
fifth?
I have something, I have to, a personal thing on January 3rd in the morning.
What about the fourth and fifth?
I can do 4th and 5th, and that.
What time of day do you want to do that?
Are you referring to just Heather or me too?
Both,
We're both
I'm just
on.
telling her what the times I can't do. So do you have times you can't do, Diane?
I can do Thursday in morning preferably.
Thursday 9 to noon, like the
Okay.
fourth? Okay, what about Friday? You want to do another one then?
We can do that.
9 to noon?
Friday, you want to do 9 to noon?
And these are for our department heads?
Department heads and
Okay.
initial kind of budget stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, the week of the 8th.
Monday,
You want to do Monday 9 to noon? And I think that we get through most everything by then. And
Yeah,
then
it
we
usually
can
takes 3 days to do department heads, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Oh,
and then
sometimes
And then
that's-
Shelley can kind of,
Okay.
then
Do
she
some
can
work.
tweak them
What
up.
role am I playing
not really need to play
in,
anything.
not present on Monday?
Neither you have any other opinions?
I mean, we don't really take minutes.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
We just like so-and-so
It's
came
kind of,
in.
it's a
We just
work,
go
it's a
through
work
each thing.
session,
Yeah,
and
she does.
depending on the department, they may have a half hour, they may have an hour, we might have 45 minutes, and we try to
Because
meet.
I would have a
everybody.
conflict on the 8th if you needed.
No, you don't have to be, 9 to noon on Monday.
Um,
That I think, I can change mine,
Okay,
okay.
well, we'll have a regular board meeting on the 9th,
Yeah.
so let's set those three for now, and I'll talk to Shelley and get her input on that, and try to get everybody plugged in for those times, and then we'll see when we want to do follow-up meetings for them. Okay,
Make sure I don't have any other.
Okay, perfect.
responding to bid
Hey,
for,
Bill,
yes,
it's Sally. Those work for me.
they work for you perfect. And we should be able to get most of our stuff, department head stuff in there, so in 9 hours worth of meetings, I would hope. You think?
Yeah, we should be able to.
Okay, and if we don't, we meet again on the 9th, and we can pick up another date later that week if we got some odds and ends, and then you can do your thing for a while, and we'll get back together.
Does that give you enough
Okay.
time, Shelley, to crunch things?
You mean before your first meeting?
Yeah, are you okay with that?
Yeah, that should be fine.
A lot of her crunching comes after that we have.
But
these
I mean,
meetings.
are we giving you enough time for all of it?
All right, sounds good. I'll talk with you that further on that tomorrow, Shelley, and try to get that stuff all scheduled.
Okay,
All right, perfect, thank you.
perfect, that sounds good.
Next item, responding to bid for live streaming meetings. Jen, are you on?
I'm right here.
Oh. Mike's blocking you out. It's kind of like an eclipse.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So I got an email asking me to set up time with our vendor to go over live streaming equipment for the conference room, and I wanted to make sure everybody's on the same page before I get together with him.
Can we do this? Can we reach out to vendors and ask for things without saying it to the board?
We can talk to whomever we want. I'm not aware, this is the first I heard of it, because I had just asked him for a quote. And then I was gonna put it on the agenda for us to discuss if we wanted to move forward with
We've
this.
casually kicked it around for years.
Yeah. So, but, yeah, we can talk to whomever we want, and then if we wanna put it on the agenda for discussion for our policy before we do resolution. put it
You
on
can
the
ask
agenda.
for, you can ask for
Mhm.
quotes,
Yeah.
and then,
I can talk to any vendor I want.
should you
whoever I want.
circumvent IT?
I do think there's an issue with that. I mean, as a supervisor, if I put together a presentation, I wanna see if it's valuable, a value add, before I present it to the board. And then if it goes on the agenda, then we engage IT, this is something that we're talking about, maybe we can do an RFP, again, you know I like RFPs. So, yeah, I wanted a ballpark to see if it's even feasible within our price range. And we can do it as cheap as zero cost, you know, an iPhone and a tripod. Or we can do it as formal as where we have something automated that is set up and we push a button.
Who keeps that up to date and all that?
Well, that's part of the discussion. First, I wanted a price point, because if it's gonna be too expensive, it's a non-starter. But we can certainly discuss that. This, I was not prepared to discuss it today. I didn't add this to the agenda.
I did, because I wanted to see if it's something you guys were interested in having me look at.
I think,
Bring
I
forward.
think it's something to look at, you know,
Okay.
and like you said, you could do it with an iPhone and Facebook Live, or you could spend $50,000 on it
Well, we're not gonna spend
probably. I know we're not,
$50,000.
but, I mean, it's all over the board, what's your options?
Right.
But
And
is
you
there
could do- you could
is there a
upload-
$5,000 to $7,000 option that's a little bit better than Facebook Live and doesn't break the bank?
There is, based on quotes I've gotten. This is with our particular vendor, which I prefer to use, but if we do something like that, obviously we're gonna have to get bids, if we decide that's something we wanna do. But I wanted to get a ballpark, because like you said, if it was gonna cost $50,000, no way. So I think it's something we should consider, but I wanted to kind of get a presentation together for you guys, your options, and the ballpark options, the free option, you know, the middle of the road 5 to 7 option, and then if we wanna do something to where, you know, it's automatic, you on your keyboard can go, you're not hitting star 21 all the time.
Should we get
So-
the bids, or should the
I think
department
IT
head?
should.
IT
Yeah.
should do that.
Okay, so if you wanna,
She should do that.
so you're directing her to go ahead and look at it?
I don't care, but I think it should go through the department head to see what it entails, how much it would cost, and
Jen, can you look
I-
into that?
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff?
but I just,
Well, budget meetings are coming
before I
right up.
start setting up appointments, I wanna make sure it's something that you're gonna entertain as opposed to me.
it depends
Doing
what it
something that
costs,
means
but
nothing.
it should probably
At
come.
a reasonable price tag.
Well,
Correct.
well,
It's
keep
not
in
really
mind,
expensive.
I didn't want her to waste her time. So,
Yeah,
and
but it's-
because as a supervisor, this is something that is important to my constituents. So I did some legwork to see if it's something that we should look at, and once I was ready, I was gonna put it on the agenda. So now that you guys are saying this is something you want, that's fine. You wanted to look into it, get some bids, that's fine. I think what we should do though is maybe figure out what we want, and then maybe put together an RFP for that, so we can put it out for a formal bid. What do you think?
I'm not saying it's something I want. If Jen I think we should have Jen research it, and maybe she might be able to just reach out and they'll give her a ballpark 3, and then 3 bids, and then we can put it out for formal
Okay.
market.
And if it's a $5,000 to $7,000 option, you're comfortable with one of the vendors, I don't really need to do an RFP for that.
No, if it's real low, if it's something affordable.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
Jen can give
Jen
us some
can do it.
options. All right, adoption of the construction evaluation resolution. It's gonna be on our January 9th meeting. We talked about the opioid settlement funds a little bit. When I schedule budget sessions, I will mention the EMS, sheriff, and public health. If there's anything in there that, in your budgets that could be allocated to this,
So
let's
I'll
do that
send it,
first.
I'll send the recommended uses that came down from the settlement, the opioid settlement. Do we
Send that to all
want,
of us, will you?
yeah, sure. Do we want to, would you guys be open to doing a formal presentation from this non-profit
Let's-
to request it?
Let's do this, let's get through our budget stuff,
Yeah,
and see how much our own departments think they can allocate to their budgets.
okay.
And then we have
Money left.
$10,000, $40,000, whatever, we have a pot. Then I would say,
Go ahead.
yeah.
I agree with you, because if we can give him a huge chunk of it, let's keep it.
But,
We can, but if we can, I agree with Phil, what I'm saying.
okay.
Let's-
We just wanna do the legwork first.
Yeah, well, let's spend it in our own departments
In
first.
our own,
And
okay.
I suspect there'll be some money left over, and then,
And then we can look.
We get $14,000 now for the next 3 or 4 years.
But
each
let's
year.
say you never use it, then they're gonna start, they'll recall it,
Nope.
you just, it
It's
stays in the
It just
pot.
stays in the fund and
We can't
it
use
sits
it.
there
We
forever.
can put it in a savings, what do we use, the treasurer uses.
Like in CDs.
No, you can do the IPIC, that where we can put it in that savings, it's high interest right now, and we can take out of it without a penalty, the CD penalty.
All right. Okay, courthouse exterior projects. I see postponed in the south door. Talked about the ramp issues, so we're planning to have a courthouse meeting next Tuesday.
Yeah, we need to, and
I
we,
think that's a good
because
idea.
Heather and I talked about that.
We put it on the agenda because you weren't there, and we didn't want to make a decision without you.
I thought Chip had some, reading the minutes, I thought Chip had reservations about time of year. Well, the opposite happens, you put them in August, and
I
they're,
know.
and then they shrink in the winter time.
Right.
That's
Well,
the nature of
the
the
shrinkage is, I think the concern was, the shrinkage is not as bad as the expansion, because then you can't open the door.
Yeah.
But if
And
you
then
go
it-
up there today, you can see through it, and
Oh, of
I can
course.
cool my pop in front of it. The breeze is terrible.
Right, no, I don't disagree, but if they're gonna be shaving stuff off to fit, and it fits perfectly in the wintertime, and then it expands in the spring or summer, then we can't even open the door, or if the door is open, we risk damaging the door.
We'll just, I've been talking to Mitch all morning about other stuff, but Michelle.
Did Reynolds respond as to whether they were going to agree to postpone it? Is that-
No,
they were
we'll have
supposed
to
be
talk
back
about it
to
Monday, because we
Tuesday.
weren't, or Tuesday, so make sure, you'll send it to all of them, the
I promise,
agenda.
I will remind you.
All right, so we will have a construction meeting, and I think there's probably 3 big ones. The ramp, the doors, and what's the other one I was thinking of?
The warranty?
The warranty.
Warranty.
Do you wanna talk about the warranty now?
I didn't send it out this morning, I haven't known.
Okay.
If they've got changes,
There's
something.
there's some things that that they want to change that I'm not in support of,
No, we won't, we just won't.
so,
All right. That on next Tuesday.
okay.
Plan.
Comprehensive plan, we're meeting again next week. We got halfway through the initial draft, there was lots of good feedback. We're making some changes than what you guys originally looked at, based on some of your recommendations, and some recommendations from the committee.
Did you get, I put a letter on your desk from Lester Bigelow, he was in.
Yes, I got that, and
Well, it is
And
so
I-
skewed, and he agrees, it's
it is very skewed, and
very
that was,
skewed.
that was brought up at the committee, saying, when you go by income base, it
Yes.
looks like farming income is, compared to everything else, is nothing, which is ridiculous. So, he suggested we do, the production, what do we do for production? And I said, Lester, you just volunteered yourself to do that research, so he was kind enough to put that on my desk. I typed it up for him and sent it off the committee, and so far, everyone on the committee likes it, so we're gonna probably insert that into our comprehensive plan. I don't know if we're gonna have it done by the end of the month with the holidays and stuff, but I have reiterated to the consultant that we really want to get this approved first quarter, so we can start working on the ordinances. We're all anxious to get working on the ordinances.
We're moving. When I did the draft supervisor budget to Shelley, I scratched that line completely, because I suspect in fiscal '25, we will not be spending any more money.
Correct,
Okay, very good.
correct.
We do need to, we need to go fast on ordinances, because Maureen and I have had a lot of discussions about, if, more probably my neck of the woods, knocking on doors. There are a lot of people who live in campers, and they
Yes.
don't move, they're just living.
They should be on campground, but, and this is something that the board could consider, is, when we start working on the ordinances, perhaps consider doing a moratorium at any conditional use permits while the ordinance is underway. And the reason why is obviously conditional use permits kind of gives you a waiver of all ordinances if it's granted by the Board of Adjustment. So if you would consider or think about putting a moratorium on any conditional use permits, so if you can't comply with the current ordinance, you
now
don't get a
exiting.
waiver until the new
I'm
ordinance is done.
I'm not in favor of that.
I don't, are you in
Because
favor?
conditional use, you don't know what's coming down the pipe. Something might be, well, yeah, that makes sense, we need to do that to promote whatever, and you just handcuff yourself, so I'd be opposed to that.
What I'm really opposed is to variances. I just think variances are weasel words to get out of
Well,
stuff.
they both do the same thing, basically, though.
What?
the variances and the conditional use permits, they're designed to get out of the ordinances.
That's right.
So, and the ordinances, I don't know if we're gonna be able to do them quickly unless, the board also considers perhaps having a contractor help Ryan. And Ryan and I have talked about this, the consultant that's working on our comprehensive plan, they are very familiar with our plan. They also offer consulting work for helping with ordinances. So that might be able to, speed things along. We can avoid the moratorium, we can speed things along if we can get Ryan some help in developing those
It
ordinances.
would only make sense to use the same, because they did it.
So
Is now exiting.
it's something that, you might want to consider during budget. I can certainly talk to them to see, what their rates are, if this is something the board wants to consider. I really think that, I would much rather speed the ordinance along than do a moratorium. But if we speed the ordinances along, the only really way to do that is to get some help.
And I think you kind of prioritize your list a little bit, and maybe knock out the more important, less controversial, easier to accomplish ones, so you make some progress on it.
If you
Anyway,
did a moratorium and a company comes
Is
in
now exiting.
and says, they purchase land, they say, we'll do all the sewer, water, everything, and it gives you 100 jobs, would that stop that then?
Only if they request, if they can't do it unless they get a waiver or a conditional use permit or variance from the existing ordinance. So like all the subdivisions we've approved, they've all complied with the current ordinance, so, we can approve that. It's only like, for instance, for the substation that they wanted to put in outside of Earlham, they needed a conditional use permit because they're gonna have towers that were higher than a 35 feet maximum. So they had to get a conditional use permit. So that's why they went to the Board of Adjustment. Board of Adjustment said no, so now they either have to comply with the ordinance and not have anything that tall, or they have to find a different site. So, and also the CSR was an issue as well. So that is what I'm proposing as options to the board, is if we move forward with ordinances, that we get someone to help Ryan, so we can get that done, get it done efficiently, get it done with someone that's experienced on writing them, or we can, do a moratorium to give us the time that he needs to get these things done.
I don't want the moratorium, but I would support, I think it only makes sense to use the same group and get it done.
yeah, if we can get a number on that budget time.
Can we, yeah,
Okay, all right,
with
I'll
cost?
ask him for. if he
And,
can get us a
I want
quote.
that person to kind of sort of be a devil's advocate, say,
Yeah.
okay, this is what you want to accomplish, but if you do this, you're kind
Oh, he
of,
has been.
you kind of got to walk that line a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you feel that he's good giving dual perspectives?
Yeah, I think he's looking out for both sides, trying to find the right avenue.
Okay.
Well, you don't want to hamstring yourself. I can think of a county that's all ag preservation, and they can't do anything. And, you would have some company come in and say, I'm gonna supply 500 jobs, and you just don't want that either.
Well, keep in mind, the board could always change the ordinance. If a company comes in, we could pass an ordinance and change that. So we're not hamstrung either. I mean, there's a process, obviously, to do that.
Obviously.
But if it's good for the county, as a board of supervisors, we can change the ordinance. So we have. in the past.
Sometimes we think we're way behind the curve, but after spending a week in Delaware County, similar sized county, and not, fairly close to Cedar Rapids and Waterloo and Dubuque, but not as close as we are. They're talking about, they're just now having county ordinances on lot size for residential dwellings, or somebody bought a piece of ground and wanted to put some storage units on, and prior to just a few months ago, they wouldn't have needed a request to, there wasn't zoning. They could do whatever they want. Now this guy's got this piece of ground he's wanting to do something with, and they've got to get it changed from agricultural to commercial, and they never had to do anything like that just 6 months ago. So we're light years in front of that.
We are, I sit on the boards in the southern tiers, and they don't even have zoning.
Well, Adair didn't have zoning, and look what happened to them.
All
So what I'll do then, if the board is okay with that, is I will request a quote from the consultant for that, and we can talk about it.
I'm sure there's a scale of his involvement.
And we can put it on the January meeting. Are you guys open to that?
Yeah, we're part of Ryan's budget presentation, which, well, that's gonna be coming up fast. We'll move forward on that. All
Okay.
right, anything else?
Was that, the comp plan wasn't part of my budget anyway, right?
No,
The comp plan wasn't part of my budget.
No, that was our budget.
That was our budget.
it's ours. Oh, you're just, you don't want this to
He
be
doesn't want the
part-
ordinance in his
I,
budget.
yeah, I did.
Would that be the same or no?
It would probably come out, because the comprehensive plan is a requirement that we do under code, so that's why it came out of our budget. But ordinance stuff would probably come out of your budget. So we'd have to add, if we do that, we'd have to add it to your budget.
Which we'll have
We're
to
added to budget one
consider.
place or another.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's-
Yeah,
it
I
doesn't
wanted,
matter.
yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll get a quote from them, and we can, when you do your budget presentation, you can include that. Okay?
Michelle, what we've done in the past on that is insert the name in there, then attach the
It's
attach the
there.
pay schedule to it.
Oh, yeah, but not both contracts for comparison.
No, we
Okay, just the
file those, but the,
But we need to keep these for record purposes.
yes, but
Yes.
for the resolution, I just fill in the Midwest Services
I
and
did.
see attached. All right, if nothing else, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So,
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned, thank you, everybody.